Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in the guys from Necrot. How are you guys doing today?
Very good,
Good.
thank you.
Luca and Chad. You're not anonymous. You have names. Super excited to talk about the brand new record Mortals coming out soon on Tankcrimes. Big favorite of Ghost Cult. We cover all their stuff. Awesome record, man. So heavy, so heavy. And you guys have been at like sort of grooming the audience for a while. Like this shit is coming. Awesome singles, really cool video, lots of cool merch. Let's start there. I know it's a fucked up time in the world. Like I hope you guys are okay and everything considering. But I'm super glad there's this music because I think we need like this outlet right now.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Like for us, it's great to have a new album out, and at the same time, it's a bummer because we can't go on tour with it. But at the same time, it's good to have something out because if we didn't have a new album, if the pandemic happened halfway through recording, if the pandemic happened halfway through a tour, it would have been way harder on us. Like this is still hard on us because we're losing all the shows, which is like, as everybody knows, that's how bands make their living, is by playing live. So it's like, it's still very hard, but at least we have something to put out there. We have something to give to the fans without just, disappearing for a while. You know what I mean? And also it's like, we're doing this very long pre-roll before releasing day, and that was not supposed to be like that. We decided to do that because we know there is going to be like months, if not years, whatever, without live music. So we were like, let's have fun with this. Let's put out a song every month. Let's roll out for 3 months. That way we can talk about it. That way we can still be in contact with the fans for longer. You know what I mean? We can promote it better. Everything was not planned to go like this. The album was supposed to be out in June. That was the plan. And we were supposed to be on the road starting mid-May till the end of June, and then we were supposed to go to Europe July through August, and then we had shows in South America for September. So all of that disappearing from our lives, like, put us in a very I say uncomfortable place, because it's like, we are one of the categories that is like being deemed the less essential. We're very much last on the chart, and like we're gonna be the last one to go back to what we used to do. And so nothing for us is great to have, like, even just an album to fucking, even just sell and make some money, being able to, like, survive through these times and whatnot.
Yeah, it's a mind jobber. And of course, like what people don't really understand is that underground bands especially need to tour to sell the album to people, like hand to hand, by combat, right? Without the killing or injuring. But like, I go to shows all the time. My whole life is to go to shows and interview bands and take photos and buy records myself. So I feel it too. It's like, what are we gonna do if we don't get it back? And would you say you guys lost, like, I think I saw some of the original tour routing and announcements. Did you guys lose like over 100 shows or something for the year?
Well, for the year for sure, but like between now and September, between May and September, we were gonna play maybe 85 shows, something like that.
Rough.
So yeah, definitely, like, what I mean is like that's a big chunk of, like, our what we do to be able to do this as a living. And it's like we don't have much like, we already downsized, like, from, you already keep a super cheap life back at home to be able to be on tour all the time. So it's like we're not in the position of being able to be like, oh, I'm gonna move to a cheaper place. Also because we live in the Bay Area. Like, it's a very shitty place to be right now. Definitely, like in the last 5-6 years, everything has been like changing drastically, and like lots of artists have had to move out, and like this is the last drop. This is gonna make the, we're gonna lose venues, we're gonna lose artists, we're gonna lose spaces, we're gonna lose a lot from this. And we were already losing it to tech companies and bullshit people, you know what I mean? People that they care about, like, going to get a craft beer over caring about going to see a sick performance or some kind of art performance, music, art, whatever the fuck it is, you know what I mean? And it's like art lives and thrives when there is livable conditions where people don't have to struggle all the time to get by. You know what I mean? It's like we were formed in Oakland, and we all moved to Oakland from other places because this was a great fucking place to be. And like, you know, for the longest time, my rent was like $300 a month. And I was living in a room with other, you know, in a house with other 6 people in a shitty neighborhood. But, you know, nobody gave a shit about that because it's like, you know, you're a few blocks from the practice space and you're just playing music all the time, you know, and it's like, that's why bands like us happen, you know what I mean? And it's like, to me, what people don't realize is that, like, you know, when things happen that damages artists, it damages everybody, because everybody likes to listen to new music. Everybody likes to watch a new movie. Everybody likes to get, like, you know what I mean? A theater performance or a ballet or whatever the fuck, circus or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Everybody cares to be entertained, but nobody really cares about the entertainers.
That is very well said, man. What about you, Chad? Do you echo those sentiments?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. Like, we had a whole year planned of stuff to promote the album, and I mean, we like scheduled the album to be completed so that we could make it happen this year. And it sucks that, you know, we're not able to do it, but I mean, I'm happy that, you know, all of us are staying safe, and we're still able to make stuff happen behind the scenes and at home in the meantime, while we're not touring, so, you know, to keep the album in people's minds and promote it as best we can. So I mean, you know, it's cool that people are promoting it, and people are stoked to hear it, and purchasing pre-orders, and you know, we're happy about that. So I mean, there's really not much else we can do except that for now. And hopefully, if our government, you know, decides that they want to, you know, help local venues and keep afloat or whatever, hopefully that we can make that happen again sometime. But it's all really uncertain right now, and I don't even know, like, when the next time we'll be able to play. I mean, there's people who think that, you know, shows will happen next year, and I really don't know if it's gonna happen. I'm not really holding my breath. So
Right on. As a not just a music website, but we also, you know, cover some, you know, culture things. I'm seeing things like conventions already canceled into the spring next year. Like
yeah,
huge events here in New York and the rest of the country. Like, you know, somebody asked me if I thought New York Comic Con could happen. I was like, no, you can't have like a million people in 4 days go through a giant convention center. It would be like, you know, 28 days later. You know, it would be like a zombie movie, really
yeah,
quick. But yeah, I'm so sorry this shit happened, and I'm sorry it happened for you guys, because this is such a killer record. And I would say it's not like a silver lining, but I happen to know that some of your pre-orders have sold out, some of your variations on the vinyl, because I know I tried to get a couple, and I was giving Scotty Tankcrimes a hard time about it on Twitter, but he's like, maybe we'll make more if they keep selling. So buy them all. I was like, all right. So that's encouraging. There's a lot of excitement about the record. It is awesome. I can't wait for people to really like get to hear the whole thing, because it is just it's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, you got you got to listen to all of it, huh?
Yeah, I've been jamming it.
Awesome.
The PR always takes care of us, and I have somebody already picked out to review it. I like to do the interviews and then let somebody else write the review at my site, but sometimes I review too. But it's got a real like great. It's like you know, it's like technical, but it's also got like what I like from my death metal is a lot of the old school bands. I like bands that can write and groove and create space in the music, because like, you know, listen, I love technical music and I love technical playing, but like also I like songs that are I can appreciate and understand, and not just like getting bombarded with drums and guitars.
mm-hmm.
That's my own personal taste, but I love how the record is put together. You guys did a great job.
Well, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
I mean, it makes sense what you're saying. I mean, I'm similar to you. You know, I do like brutal, crazy bands, but I ultimately enjoy a lot bands that have more of like riffs and space and breaks and things that you can really remember and get stuck in your head, kind of. Or I think it's like, you know, it's a different approach what we do compared to bands that, like, you know, there is bands that in a single song they'll have like 20 different riffs. You know what I mean? And the song can be really awesome to listen to and impressive, But to me, I always find difficult to listen to a whole album of stuff that is like that is so complicated and there is so much. And if you take each thing separately, it's probably really good. It's just like so much to digest for me to like fully enjoy it. I really have to sit there. It's like I'm trying to solve this really complicated math problem or something. So it's like we do try and keep like, you know, the song structures and the riffs. Like it's something that has always been part of us. Is like we do have some crooked, fucked up tempos, but it's like that's not the point of it. You know what I mean? It's not that we're trying to make a bunch of crooked shit and make it work all together and show the world how good we are at doing this crazy shit. We're trying to make something that is heavy, that is punk, that is aggressive, that is also dark and oppressive. And so it's like, you know, we want all those elements, but without making it something that is really hard to comprehend. Even the lyrics are very accessible. You know, I don't like to use words that people don't know. I don't like to talk about things that people cannot even understand, that I found in a weird book that only I read. You know what the fuck? It's like I'm trying to, I always try and write lyrics that like, you know, make sense to me, but also that they're easy to understand, you know, easy to make yours. Also because like lyrics, they like, you know, I own the lyrics in the sense that I wrote them, but I really don't own the meaning to it. Like no artist does, because when I listen to a song from someone else and they say something, I'm going to make up my own meaning in my mind for it. You know what I mean? For you, the ace of spades is something. For me, the ace of spades is something else. You know what I mean? It's like, so there is not like, everybody's going to give his own meaning to the lyrics, but like for that to happen, you do need to make lyrics that people can understand, you know?
I do, and I appreciate that punk rock mention, because like in that way it is very punk, and you guys do have like a very you know, I think very a cool aesthetic, like, you know, very very down to earth, which I really like. You know, and I love a lot of other bands too. I'm not disparaging anybody. I love Gorguts, but after I listen to Gorguts, I don't want to listen to another band like Gorguts. I want to go do something else. That's just me personally. I know there are people who like they only want brutal, crazy death metal, technical death metal all the time. But I like a variety myself. So appreciate you guys. Again, this record rips. And what I you know, like you can make very complex and interesting songs and not make them stay too long. Also, I think that's another problem, is that bands, I think, don't know how to edit themselves anymore. I think, I don't know if it's an ego thing or a maturity thing, but like, you know, just because a riff is awesome, you don't have to play it 1,000 times. You can play it like 10 times and then go do something else.
Well, there is something about that I have to say, is that like one mistake that people does sometimes, and I'm not saying this because I know better than anybody, but it's like, one thing is playing the song, one thing is listening to it. Because it's like, I can assure you that playing a sick riff in studio 1,000 times, if you're really into it and you're having fun, is really entertaining. But someone else got to listen to it without playing it. So you got to think about that. So that's why it's always important to record your songs, record your band practices, and spend time re-listening to it. And at the same time, take long breaks from, like, you know, sometimes I re-listen to something and I'm like, okay, this song is finished, it's sick, we got it. And then I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna listen to it for like 2 weeks or more, and then re-listen to it again and still see if I still get that same feeling. You know what I mean? It's like, to me, it's like there is a good amount of work that you need to put outside of the studio and taking the position of the listener, pretty much. Of like, what if this was not my band? Like I just did it with like our album Mortal. Everybody was like, oh, sick, this album is great. You know what I mean? And it's like, we were done with the album like in February, March. So it's like, you know, I have had chances to listen to it repeatedly. And like now I took a break. I didn't listen to it for a month. And yesterday night I listened to it again. Like if I was like, you know, kind of trying to trick myself into like not knowing what I was listening to. But anyway, it's cool because it's like, you know, I listened to it and I was like, oh, I like it. You know, even after taking a step away from it. And I think it's important to do the listening process. Now I'm going to keep repeating myself, but I think you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. I agree. How about you, Chad?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the record's sick. I've listened to it a bunch, and I mean, I took like 2 months off when the quarantine happened, just because I figured like nothing's gonna happen. So I didn't practice or anything, but I've been practicing again for like the last 2 months, and practicing Necrot, practicing other bands, and yeah, I think the album's sick. And I keep saying that it's better than Blood Offerings, but Blood Offerings is a sick record too, and everybody has special place for that. But I still think that Mortal is like, it just crushes Blood Offerings. So
Well, yeah,
Nice.
it is from the band perspective. I agree with Chad on that. But then I re-listen to Blood Offerings, and I'm like, I still love it, absolutely. You know what I mean?
yeah, of course.
Meaning that we think we did something better. But of course, there's still gonna people like Chad said that are like, so attached to the album that eventually they're always gonna love it more than the other. But for us, it was definitely a chance, Mortal, to like go back after Blood Offerings and like go back more confident, because we played 3 years full of shows and bigger shows and longer tours and bigger stages and all that more pressure that makes you more confident of what you're doing. And also it's like we got to the studio knowing what we didn't like about Blood Offerings, because it's like, as the band that recorded it, you always have something in the record that you ultimately, after a year or whatever, you're like, fuck, I wish we did it different. And then when you go back to do the record after, you can do it different. You know what I mean? So you can improve those little things that you were a little upset about Blood Offerings. Like Chad, what was your snare? You weren't super happy with your snare in some part of the album, and you're way more happy with the sound drums on this one, with the drum sound.
I think it was the snare just kind of got buried on the final mix, and I just wanted to make sure that it came through on this one. But it also had to do with like my performance. I think my performance on this one was way better, because I mean, it's not like we didn't practice a whole bunch for Blood Offerings. Like, we practiced for months. But with Mortal, like, we practiced from after the Decibel tour. We practiced right before the 3 months tour that we did in like Australia and the US and Japan. And then we practiced for like, I mean, as soon as we got back, we like had 2 weeks off. But then I was practicing like every day before we started practicing all together as a band before we went into the recording. So it was just like, I felt like I was very well practiced and just well-rounded in everything that I was going to do. So I just, that was my whole goal, is just to make sure that the drums were, the best that they could be. And I think they were on this one for sure.
Totally. I think we're all of us got a lot better than we were in 2017 when Blood Offerings came out. And the thing that I was saying about being more confident is the fact of like, you skip 3 years from 2017 and it's 2020, and our new normal, which it wasn't in 2017, our new normal all of a sudden is to really play more than 100 shows. Our new normal is to like, have very little breaks before we go on tour again. Or we have 2-3 months to write a new album. We don't have like a year. So it's like, for us, it's like this mentality of like having to make things happen fast all the time. Also because it's like, because we got back from like being literally almost 3 months nonstop on the road, and we had like, we took a 2 weeks break just to like, reset. And then we had like maybe 3 weeks to a month before we were getting into the studio to record Mortal. And we started practicing every day. So we got into the studio that we were like coming from a 3 months tour with more tours behind it, and another year before it, that was like that. It's like the amounts of shows that we've played made us such better musicians. And also it's like practicing every day before recording. It's like everything, we have become a way more professional band through the years, which means we also been playing way more. And we have been doing so much more. That is like the mentality, the way we got into the studio now in 2020 to record this album was like, we were better musicians and we were more prepared and we were 100% knowing what we're doing. And like, it does come from years of hard work. And also it's like, really like, you realize certain things of like, you know what I mean? It's like, if I want to do this for real, there's going to be very little breaks, and we're always going to be doing something, and we're always going to be like right there with our minds. And like, we really got into the studio that we were like in the best condition ever possible after all those months of tours and a few years of doing that.
Nice. I was gonna say it almost sounds it's like a practical version of pre-production, right? You're working so hard all the time that you know, I'm a big believer in preparation, and so it sounds like you guys were, you know, just stepped up your own personal game and your collective game. And it shows on the music, man. It shows on the album, every bit of it.
But absurdly, it's like the preparation time that we had to write this album and practice it and go to the studio was less than 5 times less than the time we had for Blood Offerings. But we are way more ready. We are way more effective in our practice. We're way more effective in what we do. We're more concentrated. We're more, we know what we can do and we're confident. You know what I mean? So it's like even having such less time made us the perfect. Now it's perfect that things works like that for us. So like, yeah, Mortal is like a more mature album for us by a lot. And also we were able to insert more guitar solos, which I wanted from Blood Offerings. I was able to insert like different rhythm guitars parts that I write for Sunny's solo that I believe that like are more compatible for him and they're better for him to fully express himself. And like I think all these little arrangements that we learned from like, you know, the steps that we did from the demos to Blood Offerings to Moral makes Moral to us a much better record, like with no doubt.
Nice. I love it. I only have a couple more quick questions for you. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I know it's not necessarily strictly a Necrot thing, but I want to thank you for doing the Metalverse racism videos, because this is just the most fucked up time I can remember in my whole life. And I know that like obviously just uniting people and making videos is not the end of anything, because this is an ongoing problem we have to fix, but I appreciate the dialogue, because that's the most important thing that people are aware. Metal has a terrible racism problem. It always has, actually. And it's not fair to the rest of us who are not dickheads and racist. So like, I just appreciate these videos. I've been sharing them with Ghost Cult whenever I can. I retweet them, I share them.
To me, it's starting from a perspective that is not exactly that. To me, it's like, is starting a dialogue, but mostly to make people understand that there is a problem that is not only the super racist dickheads. The problem is a lot of other people, like it could have been even me years ago when I was younger, where you think that certain things are acceptable. Like, you know what I mean? Like a slightly racist joke or whatever, or like, you know what I mean? And it's like, things get, there is a lot of people that they believe they're not racist, you know what I mean? And actually they're like, oh, fuck these racist people, but then eventually they don't recognize certain behaviors. And it's like, to me, what I'm learning by doing this project with these other people is that the only way to really learn what is racist and not, and what is a way to be respectful and thoughtful of minorities, is to listen to them and see what they tell you. Because it's like, I grew up as like, you know, a white dude, and like, you know what I mean? And a lot of like things that I learned about racism, I learned them on my own or whatnot. But it's like, what you really learn is when you talk with the people that are actually affected by it. And they will tell you that it's like, you know what I mean? Eventually, like some of these people, like if you've seen in the video that they're asked, sometimes it shows just because they're, you know, a black woman, they're like, they think that they don't belong in the show. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, you listen to metal? Like, you know what I mean? And it's like these questions can eventually come out from a person that doesn't think is racist. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know, innocently asking a person of color what is it doing at a metal show, which is insane. But it's like the fact that it's like racism is so much in our society and in the structure of it. There is a lot of behaviors that eventually people have that they don't realize that they're wrong. And so it's like, that's why communication and talking is so important. And it's like if someone tells you that, it's like, you know, anybody, like solidarity is so important. Because if someone tells you that, it's like, you know, I'm having this issue, because it can be like, you know, someone color, someone gender, someone's size, or someone's appearance. You know what I mean? People can be targeted for all kinds of reasons. And it's like, of course, that is like, you know, right now we're talking about people of color, the black community, because there's been such a huge problem in the United States, because it starts back with slavery. You know what I mean? And it's like, it is ingrained, it is part of the history of this place. So it's like we are concentrating absolutely on that right now in trying to bring a dialogue about it, because the metal community needs to be a welcoming place for anybody. And it's like, especially because like metal, aggressive music, punk, all of this cater to people like us that they don't feel comfortable in society, that they don't feel comfortable eventually with their family, with the job structure, with the society, the way it runs, and all of that. And like, and we find refuge in this kind of music. But it's not only a music, because listening to this kind of music brings you inside a community of people, and it needs to be a family. It cannot be a family that is like racist or bigot, or like, you know what I mean, or like, we can't have that. It's unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable. We play heavy music, we play heavy riffs, we have heavy lyrics. All of that is absolutely fine. That's what people want. But what we don't need is a hate towards a community of people. Is not hate towards a group of people. All of that is like unnecessarily, and not only is wrong, and is damaging everybody. And hopefully people will understand that. Also because it's like, sorry, I'm like talking a lot, but like,
No,
people
no.
don't understand that like, we have toured with so many bands, and we have toured with so many also like big bands like Morbid Angel, Cannibal Corpse, Suffocation, Black Dahlia Murder. All we play with, like, you know, Possessed, Exhumed, you fucking name it. You know what I mean? We have met all these people, we have hung out with them, we've been on the road for them for a month. And I'm like, all I have to say is that like, all these people, or really almost all of them, all of us musicians that make this extreme music and go on tour all the time, are super open-minded people, because we go all over the world, we play in front of all kinds of people, we make friends with them, we're constantly exposed with different cultures, different societies, we talk for people in different countries. We understand that like there is like things are so different, like everywhere you go and people are different, everybody's beautiful in his own way, you know what I mean? And it's like, lots of people that are more close-minded are people that don't travel. And eventually they think that because us, we're making extreme violent music, eventually we're hateful, close-minded people. And it's like, people needs to get that misconception out of their minds. You know what I mean? And they need to realize that the metal, even if it is extreme, it is not a place of hate, not between ourselves, not in the metal community.
Yeah, right on, man. Thank you for that. That was great. Just for a last thing for both of you guys, obviously the record is coming up fast. Do you have any thoughts or opinions on live streaming, or maybe doing sort of live events? I know most of the bands I talk to are 50-50. Some of them are down and some of them don't like the technology too much, but I wanted to ask your opinion.
Chad, what do you think about it? I know what I think about it.
I mean, I'm not into it personally, just because it's like, it's not the same. It's not the same as like a live show that we would do in front of people, and I don't want to take that away from our performance. Like, I feel like, you know, people can be patient and people can wait for the real thing. Like, we don't need to do a live stream so that people, you know, are happy. And like, it's also, it's like, you know, you have to really like organize it. You have to find a venue, you have to find like, you know, proper camera crew. You need to like, it's a lot of work. And like, you know, we're all trying to like stay safe and you know, not expose ourselves to getting sick. I mean, I personally don't want to get sick. I know the rest of the band isn't trying to get sick. And it's just, you know, there's a lot of things that go into it that, you know, it's just not I don't think it's the right time for us to do it. But
yeah,
you know,
I feel the same, man.
if it gets to that point where it's like shows aren't ever going to happen again, I mean, we might have to. That might be the future of you know, playing live. But at this point, like, I don't think it's very necessary for us to do that. It's still, you know, it's only been a couple months.
Yeah, to me it's like, it's the same, right? Even with the crew, with like cameras, the coolest place, lights, and everything the fuck you want, you're gonna get, as an audience, you're gonna get 20% of what would you got on a live show actually being there. So it's like, to me, I don't want to spoil it, because it's like, to me, it's like, I cannot get the same energy out of myself that I get when I play live and people are in front of me. You know, I cannot psych myself like that without having people in front of me. So it's like, I feel like our performance will not be, it will probably be good because we know what we're doing, but like, it will not be as intense and we do need the contact. We do need the people right there. It's like, it's part of the show so much, especially because, like, you know, we are in a, we connect with our fans, we connect with our audience when we're playing live. It's like, you know, it's such part of our show, and it's like, you can't do that on a video with people at home in their pajamas eating Cheetos or you know, watching you play. I don't know.
Perfect,
We
man.
want, like Chad said, we're not gonna do it unless, like, you know, something really bad, and like 3 years from now we're still like waiting to play a show.
I hope not, man. I hope not. Plus, yeah, like you guys said at the top about, you know, maybe the government is finally, I guess they proposed something. I know some venues in San Francisco and Oakland closed already and are not coming back. Same here in New York. So same all over. So yeah, I hope we get it back. I hope it's not years. I hope it's just the rest of this year. If I've already kind of chalked it up, if it's the rest of this year, you know, but hopefully we get something back. It looks like Europe is doing better than we are. I don't know about the rest of the world, but I appreciate you guys. This record is awesome. People deserve to hear it in person, the way it's meant to be, live. And you know, I just want to say thank you and keep your head up. You guys are awesome. I love your energy, and you know, thank you for this awesome record. And I'm sure it's gonna come back around. We'll get it back.
Cheers, man. If I can say one last thing, I just wanted to say what's up to all our fans that we're not been able to like see, just going to play shows. And I know it's a really hard time for everybody, and I know that most of our fans are not like, you know, millionaires that have no worries in their head. You know, most of the people are similar to us, and I know that right now is a very stressful time. And I want to give you an advice to all of our fans and tell them, like, right now what's most important is that you keep your mental sanity, because it's really easy to lose your fucking head or get really depressed right now. So my advice is to do whatever you want and whatever it takes for you to be happy or at least okay. And, you know, it's time to care for each other, but it's also time to care for yourself. And, like, you know, I want to make sure when we get back to play shows, we still have people that are able to even come to the show, because it's like the times are looking very bad, and, like, you know, lots of people are having really hard time with depression. You know, it is not an easy time, and, like, I hope everybody's trying, or at least doing okay. Right on,
Awesome,
man.
man.
That's it.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. You guys rule. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Luca.
Yeah, thanks.
And
Thank you,
yeah,
man.
we'll talk again soon.
All right,
Again.
killer.
Take care.
Thank you.